All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kassie Coffee. This is my co-host, Angie Wheeler. And we are excited to be bringing you innovations in teaching cardiovascular services today. We have several different platforms we're going to be looking at and going over. And we have an awesome room host, Miss Christine, and she has agreed to kind of filter questions and ask them as we go. And they become pertinent. So please feel free to ask questions, leave comments. And Angie made a great statement in our little PowerPoint you guys are about to hear, that we are by no means the experts. We're kind of muddling through this just like you guys are. So please kind of bear with us. But we do have some cool things for you guys today. So the first thing that we have is actually what you see on your screen. It is a PowerPoint, and luckily for us, our county has our email through Outlook Office 365, so we can access PowerPoint online, and it has the awesome utility that I did not know about, that you can actually record yourself over your slides. So we know many schools and counties are going to be going virtual, and with that virtual, instead of having to repeat yourself 15 times through Zoom meetings or live streaming, you could actually record yourself here. So that's actually what we've done. So I'm going to actually go through this PowerPoint and let you guys listen to what we recorded.
Goal 1 is to identify useful online lessons and activities based on state standards that can be implemented in the 2020-21 school year.
Goal 2 is to explore video chat innovations and cardiovascular discussion topics that can be embedded into the online learning platform.
And Goal 3 is to distinguish successful tools in creating online content for games, practice tests, and scavenger hunts.
In today's agenda, we're going to start obviously with our introduction and our goals and objectives. And then after we've completed this, we're going to move to a Google Classroom code for you all to access the Google class that we have set up for today specifically.
Then we're going to teach you how to access BlendSpace. You can see the code for BlendSpace has been provided. This is a platform where you can pull in lots of activities and curriculum that can then be shared on Google Classroom for the students to look at throughout the week.
And after I show you how to create a BlendSpace module, we'll move to explore the Google forum and the tools that they provide.
And then we're going to move to a Google quiz to show how you can implement the quiz platform into Google Classroom. And then finally, we will give you guys some time to ask some questions.
We have some various resources today that we're going to offer to you guys. Resources that we feel are vital or necessary or amazing to use for content. Obviously is our cteonline.org. We've got Khan Academy, Teachers Pay Teachers, which I'm sure several of you guys have used before. Specifically for cardiovascular services, you can focus on the ekg.academy, or there is an EKG Pocket Prep app. There's a free version and a paid. And if you are actually certifying your students for the EKG technician test, this is something that they could use in this cardiovascular service class. And then, of course, for actual hands-on things, there is the Pocket Nurse for support.
Our formative assessment and feedback resources are Quizlet Live, Socrative, Poll Everywhere, and Plickr. These can be used for online and live quizzes. It can also be used as a feedback through polling to see where your students stand for formative assessment in order to know if you can move forward or if you need to reteach.
Lastly, we have resources that we're going to use in multiple aspects that would be in combination of content and formative assessments and feedback. We have Google Classroom, which we'll take you through today.
PowerPoint, as you're seeing right now, has a recording capability. So this is a great resource if you are in the classroom and you have some students in classroom and some online, or if you have all of your students online and you want the ability to lecture with your PowerPoint so that they can then later ask questions.
And BlendSpace is the platform that we've been using that you can create online content, quizzes, and basically weekly modules to supplement your students either in class while you teach or outside of class to be your teaching platform. And lastly, there's Edmodo, which is very similar to BlendSpace and Google Classroom. It's set up similarly to Facebook, but you can create assignments like you do with Google Classroom. There's messaging, polling, and various link updates and things that you can pull in from there as well.
All right, so now we're actually going to kind of move into the Google Classroom that we've created for you guys today. Let me start by saying we threw a lot of virtual platforms at you there. We just wanted you guys to know some of the things that we use in our classroom or planning to use. We are unfortunately not going to have enough time to go over every single one of those today. So we're going to be focusing on the PowerPoint with the record capability, as well as Google with the record capability that we're getting ready to go over. Then we're going to show you guys some of the Google tools that they have that are available. And then we're going to go over that blend space module. So if you have questions about the others, please feel free to ask. We just don't have enough time to go over every one of those resources today. So really quickly, the Google PowerPoint, as you guys can see here, this was the slide that we ended on. And it wasn't perfect. There were some portions of the recording that were cut off just a second or two. So it takes some time to perfect, which we still haven't done yet, as you can see. But if you have the PowerPoint online, if you have your PowerPoint ready, like you see over here with the slides, there's this lovely little record slideshow button, and you can just drop down and it'll give you the option to record the slideshow, and it'll pull up your PowerPoint in what looks like a presenter view. And from there, you just start speaking what's on your PowerPoint, and then you move to the next, and it actually filters them through for you and then saves your recording. And then you come back and you just play it to make sure that it lines up how you would like it to line up, which is exactly what we did. So now let's transition over to our Google Classroom. So we have a few options if you guys do not have Google today. And even if you do, you may not want to toggle back and forth between, the GTR platform that we're using for the conference, Zoom, and this. So if you want to see the student view, you can log in with the Google code that we're giving you so that you can access everything that we've posted on there. Or you can just follow along and watch us. Or if you have your phone, you can actually log in on your phone while you're staying in on your computer if you're using two different devices. So this is what we call our G Suite. And so if you see here on my screen, I'm logged in to my Sumner K-12 account because I'm a Sumner County teacher. And you have your Google grid here. And if you click on it, it can show you all your different apps. So you've got Drive, Gmail, your account. So to do this and get to the Google Classroom aspect, you would click on Google Classroom, which is what I've done. So once you click on your Google Classroom, you can see I have several different courses throughout my year. These are all of the different courses that I teach. And I've always had a Google Classroom, so this virtual experience isn't really that new for me or my students. But we did create a class specifically for today, which is our CTE Virtual Institute 2020. So I'm going to click on that class. And if you see right here, if you're in class and you're wanting your students to join, it has the option for you guys to jump in. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute to log in to the Google Classroom with this code if you're interested. If not, just hold tight for that minute and look on with us.
We will download all of this or upload all of this to the site for the class after the presentation. So you guys will be able to go back and go through this later if you don't want to do it right now, if you just want to follow along.
And just if any of you guys are wondering, we have a really hard time. This is a QJR, not a GJR. So it's kind of close in there together. So X23EQJR is our code. Got about 20 more seconds left.
There is an option on Google Classroom when you set up your classroom to change your code. So if this code popped up and you thought there might be some confusion with your students, you can just hit reset code, and you can hit that reset code as many times as you want until you get a code that you think would be easy for your students to recognize and log in with.
So in the chat, they're saying that the code is not valid, and one of the participants says that in a meeting previously, they were told that if you're not in the same education domain, then you cannot join. So it does seem like they're having trouble with that code.
And that could be the case. I guess they should, put a lot of security measures around for our students, like they can't send inside and outside of this this county education platform because of that reason. So if that's the case, we'll just kind of move forward then, because I know whenever I'm on my personal Gmail account, I can't even log into Google Classroom. So that might be the experience if they're doing that from a personal email. So we'll just kind of move forward and show you guys what it looks like from the teacher experience then. So if you're pulled into a classroom, this is what that classroom looks like. So you'll see these various different headings up here. So we're on the stream. So I've got a stream that I'm going to show you guys in just a second. We kind of scheduled some of our streams to go off today. So we had one that went off at 8:30 and then one that went off at 8:35. So it's really cool that you have that option, because if you're a planner, which most teachers are, and you want to set something up and it runs across your brain, you can schedule it and it'll release when you want it to. It won't release there immediately. Then you see we've got the header classwork. So we've got some different classwork assignments that we're going to show you today. And then if anybody actually comes into this, which, hey, Wendy's in, she's in our county. So you can see here that it'll show you your students that you have in as well. And it actually has the option, which we're going to utilize this year, I think. Angie and myself both teach anatomy and physiology. So we've decided that if we're in the same spot teaching the same thing, we're going to make each other teachers in the classes. And maybe, if we're on something one week and we're all virtual, she can put up the assignments, and then the next week I can. So we're kind of working smarter, not harder. So I'm going to go back to this classwork tab, because Angie's got some really great information on how to add your voice to Google Slides, just like we did to PowerPoint.
Okay, so there's some information here, and since you can't access Google Classroom, we'll make sure we get that into the platform, the GTR platform, as a resource for you guys. Google just recently added the capability to add voice to Google Slides. So if you are a Google person, you're going to use Google Classroom and need to use Google Slides, you can do the same thing. There's a 5-minute video we're not going to watch, but I did add that to Google Classroom. Like I said, we'll add it to the resources for you guys, which is how I learned how to do this. Very simple. You will actually, Cassie, if you'll go ahead and click on the little speaker.
Oops, sorry. Okay.
You can get this free service at online-voice-recorder.com.
So if you will go
super
to
simple.
Yes, onlinevoicerecorder.com. The video that I've added when I Googled Google Slides, inserting voice to Google Slides, it was the first video that came up. It was 5 minutes, super helpful. It does have the capability for you to scroll through the slides as we did with PowerPoint, or you can add 2 specific slides. If there's something that is a piece of content that you think is confusing and it would be helpful for you to explain that, or you're giving an assignment in your slide or an activity, then you could utilize that on one particular slide versus through the whole presentation.
All right, now we're going to transition back to our stream. And one of the things that I love most about the Google platform is that it is really friendly with a lot of other platforms as well, especially Google Classroom. So I apologize if any of you are on here and don't have that option, because it is a really good one. But we are going to tie 2 of our platforms together today. So if you guys were my students and I posted this, but you can see that this post released at 8:35 this morning, I had it scheduled. This is a sample link. So what we did in the spring, when we all went virtual because of the pandemic, we would go to this Blend Space platform and we would create our platform how we wanted, and you can actually transition and copy the link back into your Google Classroom platform. So you can send it to students via a link email, or you can pull it into your Google Classroom or whatever platform you guys are using. So we just wanted to show you what it would look like once it was posted from me, from the students. So you can see here, here's my post that goes along with it. And this is the Blend Space module that we have attached. Now this Blend Space module is incomplete today because I'm actually going to show you how to create one. but I did want to show you what that looked like. We also have pulled in our PowerPoint on our Google Classroom. So if any of you guys can access it, you can already see our PowerPoint is uploaded as well, for you guys to access at a later date if you want to use some of those resources that we've mentioned. So I have actually bookmarked the Blend Space website. It is put on by TES Teach. It is a free platform. There is a paid version that can make it obviously have all the bells and whistles, but I have not seemed to need that. So whenever I go to search this, if I wouldn't have had it bookmarked, I just type in Blend Space, and then I click on this first little web link right here, and it will take us to the Blend Space teaching spot. So as you can see, it automatically logs me in. And then you have this lovely little rainbow wheel over here that you click on, and it'll take you to your lesson library. So actually, this is the module that you guys just saw posted in the Google Classroom platform. But I'm going to show you if you wanted to do a new lesson. Obviously, the buttons are very simple. You would click New Lesson. This is if you wanted to create a lesson from scratch, and this is what it would look like. So we're going to get into this platform in just a second and use these tools. But I don't want to create a new one because I've already created one today. The best part about this platform to me is you don't have to completely recreate the wheel. So let's say we wanted to look for lessons on the heart that other teachers had created. So you can actually go in and just type in, let's just say the heart. Maybe we were wanting to teach the anatomy of the heart. So let's just type that in and see what comes up. So you can actually see here on my screen that there are several other teachers that have already created this. So you could actually click on their module that they created, and you could go through it like a student. And so you see here they've got a Khan Academy video, they've got a PDF, that's PowerPoint notes, and you could go through, and there's an option for you to copy over here in the top left-hand corner, and it'll pull it into your lessons library. And then you can decide to trash some of this stuff or keep whatever aspects of it that you want and add your own material. So I'll just pull that in and let you guys see what copy looks like. So here it is, it brought it into my lessons library. I can come up here and just change the name of it and just say, you know, anatomy and physiology of the heart. So, and then you can just put your name out beside it if you want it to be specific to you. And then I can come down here, and as you guys see, whenever you hover over the module boxes, you have the option to add something to it. You can change the writing down here and your instructions, or if I did not want this Khan Academy video, I could delete it altogether. So since this is somebody else's and I actually don't need this, I'm going to actually go back to my board. But that's just if you wanted to copy somebody else's. So like I said, I used a lot of this where they already had the videos pulled, they had the links pulled, and I went through and put together things that I liked, that I didn't like, things of my own that I wanted to add in to create these modules that we used in the spring that were week-long assignments. And it usually was like about 6 to 9 boxes, and it gave them something to work on every day in kind of a pacing guide order. So that's an option there with Blend Space, but we have one that we created specifically for today. So there you go. You can see that there is that now in my lessons library. It saves automatically for you. So this is the one that we created for today. And it was called Cardiovascular Health Statistics. And we, because we're focusing on the class of cardiovascular services, we wanted it to be specific to this. So we kind of focused on a standard that's not that fun to teach. But we wanted to try to make it obviously as fun as possible if we're having to do these things virtually and online. So we focused on the Health Statistics Standard 22 for cardiovascular services. So as you can see here, we pulled in our PowerPoint, which has nothing to do with cardiovascular statistics. It was just our PowerPoint for our session today. But this down here is going to be kind of what we're ending with today. So I'm going to show you guys what it looks like if we were to start creating a module for health statistics. So over here on my screen, you guys can see that hopefully. We are wanting to look for something to do with heart statistics. So let's just say cardiovascular statistics in the US. All right, so that's what we're searching on all of these different things. So it pulls in a bunch of different platforms outside of it itself. So if you see here, this is the YouTube channel, which we've already searched a video that we want to use for today. So we've actually already pulled in a YouTube video for here, but I can show you guys what that would look like. Oh, sorry. Sometimes it doesn't like YouTube whenever I'm on a firewalled thing. So you got to think about that if you're at school, because sometimes they don't allow YouTube. But what we did here was we went in onto the YouTube website ourselves, copied the link, and pulled the link in from here, which I'm going to show you how to do in just a second. And then there's TES resources, and it's a little shopping cart because there are a lot of different things that you can buy on here. So you can see there's an argumentative writing essay on a unit for cardiovascular services and health statistics. You could pay $8 for and put that on. So a lot of, and then there it'll show you some of the things that are free and different aspects like that. And it gives you the option to preview these things before you have to buy them. So that's their shopping cart. We talked about YouTube. This is Google. So it'll just search Google for you. So as you can see here, the first website that it pulls up is from the CDC, which if you read the standard 22, it is actually wanting us to use those types of websites. The CDC, NIH, different things like that we know are accredited sources. So if you want to look at it first, you'll click preview. And so, excuse me, we have the preview here, and it just takes you through the different statistics that are associated in the US with cardiovascular issues. So it talks about coronary artery disease. So you think, okay, great, this is a tool. This is basically, you know, a workbook on this. This is what I want to use. So you'll hit the escape button, and then you come over here and you just click and drag. So I'm going to drag it into my second box because this is something that I want them to start with. So if this is like a starter video, you put it in the order that you want them to go through your module for or with. So there's an example of using the Google platform. Then if you want like an image or something, we're going to show you guys a website closer to the end of our session today that is kind of focusing on county-based or county level cases of heart disease. And so maybe you want them to just see a picture of what that may look like. Same thing, you can drop and drag in there. And this is actually the website we're going to be using a picture from that website as well. So you guys will see that again at the end of the course. And maybe on your instructions, you go in and you write, use the following, you know, website to access this photo and determine, you know, how many cases are in our county alone based on race, because it gives you that option. So then we can just, you know, click done whenever we finish putting our instructions in there. And then as we move down the list, you can search Flickr. You can search a web page. Like if you have a specific link, so like I was telling you guys earlier, I would go to YouTube and then I would find the video that I wanted, which is the one that you see posted down there. And then I would come back into my platform, post the link here, search it, excuse me, and then when it pops up, you will pull it in here, which is exactly what we've done with this YouTube video down here, because my YouTube symbol kept giving me that sign. This is not working. It's not connecting to YouTube. Then we have the option over here in our toolbar to search any TES resources that you've previously bought, which, like I said, I'm kind of a cheapo and have not purchased any of these. So I don't have a whole lot of resources in TES. So it will give you the option to visit it up here at the shopping cart. If you have stuff in Google Drive, which I have all kinds of things in Google Drive, it can pull those things in that you've already created. And then this is a really cool tool, especially for Tennessee, because a lot of teachers in the CTE, specifically health science department, share Dropbox information. So you can click and add your Dropbox account and pull in any information from that Dropbox, or assignments or quizzes or tests or documents that you want them to be able to read. And then if you just have things like on a USB or on your computer, which, as you guys can see, this is a lot of what I already had. I wasn't trying to recreate the wheel in the spring. So I just pulled in the information that I already had. So I had, you know, digestive system, PowerPoints, immune system worksheets and things that I saved on a USB, and then you choose the file and upload it. And it's just standard, like attaching a file to an email. you choose the file, it'll pull up your Finder view, and then from there, you'll pull in whatever it is that you need to pull in. It does take a few minutes to upload. And then this is your settings bar. So any settings on your screen that you want to change, password, things like that, this is where you would go to do so. So this is it automatically saves for you. As you can see it here, it says auto save. So that's really everything I have. Christine, do we have any questions about this that I need to answer before we move on to our video and transition back to Google Classroom?
Yes, we do actually.
Okay.
The question from the chat is, what is the variety that you offer in a lesson? For example, what all do you try to include for one lesson over your topic for one day?
That's a great question. So let me just show you guys one that I created for, let's see, let's find one that I know is pretty decent. This was for my medical terminology class. Let's just see, I think this might have had one that was pretty good. So I started with medical terminology, so that's really hard to do for me outside of the classroom. So as you see here, I use Quizlet a ton. I create my own Quizlets. That's how we study for the dual enrollment medical terminology test. But the standards for medical terminology are pretty much identical to anatomy. So I would start here, which you see it says the CAPTCHA challenge. And so that's actually where they have to go onto a Quizlet that I have created for the urinary system specifically, and the terms that are associated with the urinary system. And they go in onto this Quizlet website, which I can click on it and you guys can see where it opens in a new tab. So I wanted them to start, oops, sorry, I'm not logged in, so it's not letting me show you this page, but it would take you right to Quizlet. And from here, they would study their terms, and then they would have to quiz themselves on it until they got at least a 90% or above. So that would be where I first had them start. And then after this, they would click the next arrow. And then from here, I would have various documents that would pull up. So this was a PowerPoint that I had that I wanted them to go over to get a basic understanding and knowledge. And then with the PowerPoint, I would ask them questions. Okay, well, what about this in the urinary system? What about this in the urinary system? And then you can even have a discussion. So if you start this and have it here, you can say, you know, what aspects did you find most difficult? So then this could technically tell me like maybe where I needed to go back and specifically focus on an area instead of teaching the whole lesson. Or if I wanted to go and put my voice recordings in with my PowerPoint, this is where that would be as well. So this would be my direct instruction here. And then from here, I would always throw in supplemental videos that I felt that were really necessary for them to fully understand. I think one of the most difficult things for my students in anatomy to understand is the nephron and the nephron loop in the urinary system. Just because there's a lot of wild names, the loop of Henle, you've got the reabsorbing, ascending, descending tubules, calyces, all those different things. So this video is kind of just a quick crash course that I would have them watch. And then I would usually have a quiz over that. And then, like I said, specifically, I love Khan Academy. So I would take them through a Khan Academy on a specific supplemental video on something that I knew was difficult. So the kidney and the nephron. And they would have to actually take the notes with this and then submit the notes in Google Slides or Google Classroom or Google Notes, whatever, Google Sheets. And then from there, I would have a worksheet that they would have to do as well, always labeling and function, since it's more of an anatomical aspect to the class than anything. So as you can see there, that would be like the worksheet that I would have with it. That was the loop, the nephron loop that I knew that they would struggle with. So I also added an infographic specifically on that. And then here are just some common diseases and disorders that you would see. And if you've ever had students take the dual enrollment medical terminology test, it's more so on diseases and disorders than it is over just the root word or prefixes and suffixes. So this is kind of important to get them back to that medical terminology aspect that's specific to the dual enrollment test. And then this is just some more website supplemental information. And then I gave them a project. So I had them actually create what is called a kidney roller coaster. And they could do it however they wanted because obviously they were at home, which was kind of difficult. But they had to go through and create a blueprint of their roller coaster. And then it had to be based on the internal and external aspect of the kidney. And they had to, within the roller coaster, make sure that they could represent these 5 things. So polarizations found in the loop of Henle, concentration levels found throughout the nephron. And it was saying, think outside the box here, like tight spaces and water to go with their roller coaster, to kind of show what's happening in that loop of Henle and with the concentration levels. And then direction similar to the nephron loop, like if they're going up, if it's the ascending part of the loop, if their roller coaster needs to be going up, if it was the descending, going down. And then any anatomical locations that were really important to the kidney itself, like the renal cortex, renal pelvis, Bowman's capsule. And then, of course, they had some additional things here that had to be colored, labeled. They had to have a legend. And like I said, this was a 1-week project or a 1-week module. And this project took a lot. So what I actually did as well is I Zoomed with my students on this one because I knew they would have questions. So I had a specific day that I would have a Zoom call with them, and this is what they did. So that's pretty much usually what I do. I kind of start with something simple, work in some direct instructions, some supplemental videos for the kinesthetic people, something that they could touch, label, identify, and then a project to kind of put it all together. But that was just our module in the spring. So it'll be similar this fall because we're on a hybrid schedule as of right now. But it will be supplemental like this as well. Did that answer that question, Christine? Hopefully.
Yes, it does seem to. And there were some quick follow-ups. Is Blend Space live? Like, is the discussion a live thread? And also,
that is a great question. No, it is not, because once I put in the link, they access it as they want, but you can set up your settings to kind of notify you when you have a comment. We were instructed through our county to have all of that discussion specifically on Google. So if I was not using Google, I would want those notifications to come to me via BlendSpace. But because we were using Google, I would also create a post and they would have to comment back to the post that I put the BlendSpace module link with.
and then the other follow-up was, how does the student complete the worksheets that you have added to the BlendSpace lesson?
There are several different ways, and it just depended on what they had access to. If they had a printer, obviously they printed it and filled it in that way, but not all of my students did. So a lot of them would just recreate it and hand draw it, which also helps them in understanding the anatomical aspect of the structure that they were labeling. And then I had some that did the bare minimum that I just said, go through, number the boxes for me, and then I'll check them as you go. And they would just put in the structures and then the labeling information with the function behind it. So that was the kids doing the bare minimum for the most on that. So those were my 3 options. And then they would either take a picture and send it back in, or like I said, they would recreate it on Google Slides or recreate it on a sheet of paper and scan it in and then turn it in that way.
Can you look up an individual's work?
Yes, you can. Oh, on Google, needless to say, but yes, that's how I was able to do that. They would all turn it in individually on Google. So if you look here, it'll say grades. So for everybody who is turned, like Wendy obviously has not turned in her assignment today. Wendy, you're in trouble. But it would give you her assignment that you could go on and check and then grade it and return it, or, say, hey, you messed up on this, please redo it and turn it in again.
So that's within Google and not within the BlendSpace.
Right, that was in Google, not within BlendSpace. And I'm sure there is an option to do that within BlendSpace. Actually, I know there is because I didn't have Google Classroom before I moved to Seminole County. I was in Montgomery County. And if you see over here, you can actually add classes just like you do with Google Classroom. So you guys see here, there's a code here for, let's say, health science. That was way back when. There's no telling what's going to be in here. So this was my health science whenever I first started getting into the virtual aspect here. And you can see here, it'll say manage class. And so you can see the students that are in here, and then it'll show their work once they turn it in. and they can join. I'm trying to remember which class I actually had students join in on. Let me go back and see. I think it might have been medical therapeutics that I first started using this. Yeah, I think I had several kids in here. So you can see here, this one looks a little different because I've actually put stuff in here. And this is what I used in medical therapeutics whenever I was back in Montgomery County. And it'll show you over here all of the different things that you can do. Email preferences, courses, and so forth. So there you go.
Do the students
Yes.
have to be on their computer for a particular classroom time, or do they have a time frame to work daily?
Mine usually had a time frame to work daily, and that's just going to be whatever your county decides they want to happen. We had students still working during the pandemic in the spring, so a lot of mine would sleep till 2, and then not wake up till 2, like I said, and then they would work from 2 to 10, or, you know, I'd be getting messages at 3 o'clock in the morning from where they were doing their work at separate times. I know for us, if we had a Zoom meeting, they were obviously there at that specific time. But in this fall session that we're going to be having, they are supposed to be logging on in the time frame that their course would be if they were in the school building.
So your Zoom calls would be for the whole class or for one individual at a time?
You know, it would be for the whole class. If the whole class needed it, it would be for the individuals that needed it. So I usually like to set a Zoom time where I could just kind of go over the information that I know everybody needs, but I know that I'll have those kids that won't ever ask questions when we're on the Zoom call. So I always gave the opportunity for a certain meeting time in the day if that specific student needed help. So I actually did both because I have some students that struggle with others, especially with distance learning. So hopefully that answered that question.
So I have one last question, and then I'll let you get on with your presentation. And that is, if an attendee wanted to go to Blend Space and look for a lesson that you created, would they be able to do that?
Sure. They can actually, whenever, you know, I showed you the lessons library up here. So like, for example, you may be looking for my endocrine system MT. You could do that, or I think there's a way for teachers to network together on here where I think I've shared some with Angie before and said, hey, this is my Blend Space module. Or if you want any of these, or if you want to join one of my classes, just make sure you shoot me an email and you can have all these. I'm not stingy with it. So yeah, absolutely. But if you go to that lessons library, and search what you're looking for. Like if you're looking, let's just see if I can pull it up. I don't know if it will since it's me actually searching my own, but let's just see if I type in endocrine system MT. Look, there it goes. So if you know exactly what you're searching for and who you're searching it from, it'll show you here. So there's my creation right there. So anybody who searches that should be able to find that. Okay, so now if everybody's good with those questions, and like I said, keep them rolling if you've got them. I'm still, like I said, not the expert in this, so I'm learning more and more things every day. But we're going to transition back into our little cardiovascular health statistics that we were working on here. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like if I were to decide to share it. So if I'm done with this and I'm ready to post it and I'm ready to give it out as an assignment, so you guys can see here, it immediately links with my Google Classroom if I want to share it that way. So you can see down here, it shows you can share and embed this on the web. You can do it on Google Classroom. You can do it on Twitter if you've got Edmodo, Facebook, whatever platform you have. If you even want to do it on a QR code where students can go and scan it and just access it that way, it does so. If you want it to be something as simple as you copy and paste a link, it can be done here. And then the cool part is it's already got my lessons, my Google Classroom tied into it. So I could actually click on the class that I created for today, CTE Virtual Institute 2020, and I can actually just share it with you guys. Or if it was a rehab class, I could share it with rehab. And if the class that you wanted wasn't mentioned, you could just click your Google Classroom, and then it allows you to pull it in. If it'll go ahead and do it. Let's see. So here's what it looks like if you decide to share it on Google Classroom. Obviously it's not connected to it's connected to my personal. I would have to switch my account here, and I don't want to have to do that. But you can post it to your Google Classroom as a assignment, as an announcement, as a quiz. You could post it as anything you decided you wanted to post it. You could schedule it. You can put a due date, everything right here in this little window. And you still have technically not ever left your Blend Splay platform. So it's kind of connecting the two, which is cool if you have Google Classroom. If not, then you can use some of these other different platforms, or email, or just embed it somewhere and then post it if you've got like a school website. So I'm now going to show you our health statistics video that we found, that we created a discussion question for on our Google Classroom stream. And so we're going to watch this really quickly. It's only 2 minutes long, and we picked it because it was a young female. And we know a lot of times our students don't they think of heart disease and they think of older adults. But this is actually, I think, a 22-year-old female. So this was the video that we chose to show today, and just to kind of listen to her. And then we created a discussion question that may be like an introduction to this lesson, or, you know, like a participation grade for the week on their Wednesday that all of our students on our hybrid schedule will be at home.
Okay, here we go. Okay, eyes on me.
Hi, I'm Amy, I'm 22, and my heart condition is an atrial septum defect, so a hole in my heart. After my surgery, it was quite an important thing for me to bin everything that I associated with my operation. So obviously I had my fabulous family, fabulous friends that got me through it, but books, CDs, cards, although they meant a lot of the time, it was about shutting one door and opening another. Being 14 and being a teenage girl, my real worry was my scar, and nobody really talks to you about your scar, and nobody tells you that it's going to take a long time to calm down, but not to be scared of it, not to think that it's a reminder of something really bad that's happened to you, that look at it as something like a battle wound that shows how strong you are, and not to hide it away, and you don't need to hide it away. I was a completely different person before and after, and it took me a while to get to know the new me, but it's a new improved me. I'm 22 now, and I live every day like I wasn't meant to get it, and I think that it gives you a really brilliant perspective on life. The most unexpected thing that I find out about myself is how strong I am. I think you have to be pretty tough to fight heart disease, and that I can do it, and that if I can do it, anyone can do it, and nothing phases me if you've been through that.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Angie. And Angie, I'm sorry I'm not leaving you with a ton of time, but I'm going to go straight to the classwork. And so we're back into Google Classroom here. And we have you can see it was posted on a stream. So Angie posted new material today about the voice recording, but you can also see here she posted a new question, and it's a discussion question. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to let her take over from here.
So Kassie, if you'll go back to the stream real quick, just so I can show them.
Okay.
There's lots of different things, as Kassie said, that you can do on Google Classroom, and I've heard that some people are using Microsoft Teams. I was in one of these sessions, and it seems like a lot of the features are similar with Microsoft Teams as they are with Google Classroom. So you just kind of have to get in there and play with it. But if you'll go back up on the stream where the video is posted, Kassie, just so you can see, you can embed the video and add that to a discussion as well, versus just having the discussion there. So if you wanted them to watch the video first, you could have them watch the video and then they could discuss. Right, if you'll go back to the discussion so we can show them that. So if you can see we've got instructions there. They're going to watch the video, they have to post a response, and then they have to respond to their classmate's post. So this is similar to, at least for me, when I took those 18 hours for my college credit for my teaching license, I had to do things like this. So if we can't be in the classroom, or if you're on that hybrid schedule like we're starting where you only have half of your class, this is a way to get them all talking, conversing, and interacting together. So they're going to watch this video, they're going to post, and then they have to respond to their classmates' posts. This is one of the things that you can do inside Google Classroom. Another thing that we have set up, and I'm sorry I'm trying to hurry because I think we're over time as of right now, is you can set up a quiz, which we kind of started for you guys. And the way we thought we would use this quiz would be as an intro to our unit to Standard 22. So we've got the websites listed that the Standard wanted us to use, cdc.gov, nih.gov, and the World Health Organization. This will allow the students to go in. They have to answer the question, so they're going to have to toggle back and forth to these websites in order to find this information. This is a good way to see if your students are able to do this, so that when you let them loose later on at the end, we do a research project based on the health statistics to see if they're going to be able to do that, to find the material that you need. So you can do multiple choice questions, you can have them do paragraphs, short answer, you can see there a checklist, but we were going to go to the very bottom, the last question, and kind of show you how to set that up. So we're going
to have to go down here, yeah, to edit your form if it's already done. So here we go. All right, so I'm down here and I'm ready to edit.
So we included in ours a link where they'll actually have to go to an interactive website, and that will allow them to click on particular data to show how many deaths there were in Tennessee in a particular time frame in a particular age group. So you can change it to be specific to race, states, the county level, whatever you felt you wanted or needed your student to research. So here's where you could change and put all races, or you could look at a particular race, you could look at a particular gender or a particular age group, and then you can change the years. 2016 to 2018 is the most recent data on this website that they have. But once you add the filters, and you're able to see, it will color code the graph and give you the little chart where you can see in Tennessee, we're in the dark red. So we have 202.9 to 501.8 deaths from coronary heart disease per 100,000 in Tennessee per year, or per those 2 years. Then you can come back in, give them the multiple choice answer options. And they'll be able to choose on their quiz. I believe, Cassie, correct me if I'm wrong, if you do multiple choice, you can put in, or the check all, you can put in the answers and it will let you know what they got correct or incorrect. If you use the short answer or paragraph, obviously you're going to have to go in and grade that yourself. This, if you use, like our county uses Skyward, it can be set up to grade in Google Classroom, but it does not interface with Skyward. So you could have it graded in Google Classroom, but then you're going to have to go back and actually enter those grades into Skyward or whatever platform your district uses.
And all of this saves automatically as well. So now that we're done editing, we could click out of the quiz, and then we could go back to it and it'll show you where it is now updated and done. And then they could choose their answer and submit it. And then we've finished with our atlas. All right, so I'm going to go back to, and then like you said, you could see the people and the grades that they have, how many people have turned it in. And I think that's it, right? That's everything that we've got for today. I don't think there's anything that we need to add.
Since we are at the end of our time, can you all go ahead and give them the keyword?
Yes, the keyword is created. Let me go back and make sure that I put it up on the PowerPoint. Here we go. Play from current slide. There we go. And here is also
and lastly,
our
you have our contact information. Guys, we are not the experts on this. We have leaned on lots of teachers with lots of experience over the years to get us through. And if we can be of any help to you, here's our contact information. Please reach out to us.
And I know today was a lot about online platforms. That's kind of how we were told to gear toward it. But if you're new to teaching this course, Ashley Corbin shared all of her stuff with me. and I have kind of taken, because she is like the guru on this, but I have taken and just tweaked it to how I teach. So I am happy, my email's on there to share what I have with you guys. Don't go out and recreate the wheel, use what's there.
Any last minute questions, Christine, that we can answer before we're done?
No, there are no more questions. Earlier in the presentation, someone commented that you can change the settings to allow people outside of the domain to use the program. The one that you had the code for that wasn't working.
Oh, Google Classroom?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Someone commented in saying that you can adjust it in the settings.
Cool. That's nice to know.
Outside of the domain can view it.
Okay. And I'll definitely try to do that and make sure that, you know, if anybody wants this information after we upload it, can get in, hopefully.
And just to say one more time, the PowerPoint for this presentation will be uploaded to the session page now that you have concluded your session. And if there's not anything else, I think I'll go ahead and end this meeting.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today.